There are a ton of amazing Pokemon coming to the Crown Tundra, but which ones are the best? Let's break them down.
Butterfree, go!
Yo, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy Dan, aka aDrive. I bring you guys a brand new video today, and today we are breaking down the top 10 Pokemon that are returning in the Crown Tundra. Now this video is a bit of my opinion, but it's also kind of taking facts and what we expect to see from the metagame and what changes in the Crown Tundra. This is based on competitive and usability, and I tried to mix things up a little bit so it's not just a bunch of legendaries, but these are some of the best Pokemon returning in the Crown Tundra. If you guys enjoyed this kind of a video, be sure to hit that like button down below and make sure you guys subscribe. YouTube tells me that 50% of you guys are actually not subscribed to the channel, so change that right now and make sure you guys subscribe. You probably don't even realize you're not subscribed. I post Pokemon videos every single day. We have amazing high quality content. We've got some amazing stuff planned for the Crown Tundra, so thank you guys for that. Now, you may disagree with some of the Pokemon in this countdown. If you do, feel free to let me know in the comment section below what you're thinking, and let's break it down. The best Pokemon, the top 10 best Pokemon coming to the Crown Tundra. Before I go into this, I'm gonna say I'm not gonna rank this in any particular order. I'm simply gonna give you guys 10 amazing Pokemon, because I think if I try to rank them, there's always subjectivity about that. And Pokemon generally, while they can be incredibly strong on their own, you know, most Pokemon function best in a team setting, and that's how you should really evaluate it. So let's do it. I could not have this countdown to this list without Landorus Therian form. Landorus T, or Lando T, is one of the most menacing threats in competitive Pokemon. Its ground and flying typing allows it to fire off incredibly powerful earthquakes, things of that nature, and with the removal of a hidden power, it no longer has to be super scared of those 4x super effective ice moves. Landorus's best counter is itself, actually, and that's how strong it is. And we've seen in previous metagames that Landorus just simply dominates. But I think in a Dynamax metagame, it is going to be even stronger, simply on the fact that it has a very powerful flying type stab using Fly, and it can use that to give itself max Airstream boost to deal massive damage, boost its speed, and then continue to steamroll. It also gives moves like Earthquake, which can boost its special defense. It gets Rockfall to set up the sand, and it gets a plethora of other coverage moves that it can utilize. But in VGC, having the ability to Intimidate allows it to weaken those physical attackers. You pair that with Max Quake, which is going to boost your special defense, and Landorus T is going to be a threat. It is going to be a force to be reckoned with, so do not sleep on this thing, especially when it gets those speed boosts with Max Airstream. The next Pokemon on this list I'm actually going to loop together, and that's Neoking and Nidoqueen. And while the Nidos are very different Pokemon in their own right, in the singles metagame, they can actually be very, very dominant. Nidoqueen, often known for setting up hazards like Toxic Spikes and Stealth Rocks, just being an overall threat in terms of its defensive prowess, whereas Nidoking is a little bit faster and more offensive. Both these Pokemon are massive threats because of Sheer Force. Sheer Force allows them to boost their attacks, and when you pair it with a Life Orb, you actually don't take the recoil from that, and you deal massive damage with these Pokemon that have incredible coverage options. Ice Beams, and Flamethrowers, and Thunderbolts, and Sludge Waves, and Earth Powers, and you can even go physical with them with Poison Jabs and Earthquakes. These Pokemon can deal so much super effective damage. They are absolutely incredible, and they very rarely have good switch-ins. Again, their speed stat does leave a little bit desired with only 85 and 76 base speed respectively, but the Pokemon are still massive offensive threats, and I'm really excited to see them return to this countdown. Like I said, I had to tell you guys, we're not just going to do legendaries. We're going to cover some other Pokemon as well, and I felt like Nidoking and Nidoqueen definitely deserved a shout out for this video. Another Pokemon you got to watch out for is going to be Dragonite. Dragonite, much like Landorus T, is going to be able to benefit from those stab max Airstream boosts, going for max Airstream flies to deal massive damage and boost its speed stat. But one of the things that Dragonite can really benefit from is the ability Multi-Scale, which is going to reduce the damage of super effective attacks by 50% if Dragonite is at full health. So it can take a super effective hit and activate a weakness policy as a Dynamax user, and then deal so much damage with that incredible attack stat and an average speed stat, which often lets it kind of down generally, but it can boost its own speed now. It has another ability in Inner Focus, which is obviously very good for fake out metagame where if it doesn't get flinched, but generally I see this thing pairing with an Ice Shard user, sitting there Dynamaxing and just firing off max Airstreams while the opponent figures out how they're going to stop this absolute incredible threat. And I do feel like in a Dynamax metagame, Dragonite can actually be useful as a special attacker. It gets moves like Hurricane, and I think it gets like Surf and Thunder and all sorts of coverage moves. So being able to utilize it in rain potentially, and also just as a special attacker, can really catch some people off guard, especially when you factor in, again, if you have that weakness policy, you're going to be boosting those stats, and then you just fire off Stab Hurricanes. This thing is going to be a huge threat. I'm sure you guys hate it. I most certainly do, but Cresselia is an absolute menace, and I feel like this Pokemon is going to come back with a vengeance. Cresselia, known for its incredible bulk and its shenanigans in general, using things like Ally Switch and Skill Swap, I have no doubt that Cresselia is going to come back in full force as one of the few Pokemon that can really successfully defensively handle a lot of these offensive threats. I don't like it myself, but it does have the ability to heal itself up. It can do some shenanigans with things like Lunar Dance, but primarily it's there to just slow things down, sometimes set screens, sometimes Ally Switch, sometimes set up Trick Room, and it just never dies. Like, that's the reality of it. Cresselia just, it's so hard to take down with those incredible defenses. I really expect it to make a splash, especially if it gets allowed in VGC, because again, it's a mainstay in competitive Pokemon. This thing is such a threat, and it's going to be very difficult for teams to knock out, especially without a huge presence of really good Dark and Bug-type Pokemon, specifically Bug. Like, there are really very few offensive Bug Pokemon that I think would actually be able to deal with Cresselia. And again, when it comes to Dark types, you do have things like Tyranitar and stuff, but again, now that we're kind of in flux with this whole new Crown Tundra, there's a ton of new Pokemon that are going to be around, and we'll have to see if Tyranitar is able to hang in there. I actually think, at first glance, it might, simply because it does have that really nice rock typing, which is going to help against some of these Dragonites, Salamence, things like that. And then, of course, having that dark typing could allow it to counter things like Cresselia. But don't get too excited. Cresselia is going to be a threat no matter which way you slice it. The next Pokemon I've got to mention is going to be Metagross. Metagross, much like Dragonite, is a very, very usable member of the Weakness Policy. In fact, Metagross is one of those Pokemon that actually used to use Weakness Policy before the Dynamax metagame. It was paired with things like Arcanine using Bulldoze, and because of its ability Clear Body, it can actually take those hits, not lower its speed, and then deal massive damage with its Steel and Psychic type stab coverage. In this case, it's only going to be able to boost its defense further with max Steel Spikes. It gets Earthquakes, so it can go for max Quakes, get those special defense boosts, and its typing in general just leads a lot of opportunities for it to tank hits, get a Weakness Policy off, and then after its Dynamax ends, you can fire out Bullet Punches and deal massive damage, especially if you pair with a max Knuckle. Metagross, a pseudo-legendary Pokemon, this mon is going to be so good, especially since offensive steel types, while there are a few in the metagame, there's not a ton, so I think Metagross is going to make a huge splash in the Crown Tundra. The next Pokemon we're going to mention on this video is Regigigas. Now, we know that Regieleki and Regidraco are showing up in the Crown Tundra, so I think that there's going to be some secrets in store for Regigigas, but if this Pokemon is paired with Galarian Weezing, which is going to remove its slow start ability because of neutralizing gas, I have a feeling this thing is going to be a threat. Let us not sleep on the fact that Max Strike is going to lower speed stats on the opponent's side of the field. It's base 160 attack stat paired with base 100 speed, 110 HP, 110 defense, and 110 special defense. This is one of the strongest Pokemon we've ever seen. And while I said in this video, like, we got to look at Pokemon from a team perspective, and, you know, we got to see how the metagame shakes out, I had to include Regigigas because I have a feeling this thing might get a Gigantamax form as well, just to represent all the Reggies. And if it gets some special G-Max form with a busted move, this thing is going to be just stupid insane. I'm really excited to see Regigigas make its return, and I'm really excited to see it actually have some usability without having to wait for slow start. In addition, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure Regigigas finally has access to moves like Protect, Rest, and Sleep Talk, which it previously did not have. So there are going to be some other options. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure there are going to be some other options for Regigigas moving into the Crown Tundra, but the primary use is with Galarian Weezing, neutralizing gas. Hit that thing hard, man. Base 160 attack is simply no joke. I think it would be unfair of me to do this list without including Tapu Koko. Tapu Koko, probably the strongest of the Tapus, with maybe Lele being the exception. Tapu Koko being able to set that alleged terrain and then go for moves like Rising Voltage is going to just be so insane. If I'm not mistaken, Tapu Koko also is getting access to moves like Play Rough as well, so it can finally utilize that physical attack stat that's actually a little bit better than the special attack stat. But otherwise, its Blistering Speed at base 130 sets the standard in the metagame, and there's very few things that are going to be faster than it. So I think that when you pair that, and then you could put something like an Alolan Raichu next to it, or another Pokemon that can take advantage of the alleged terrain, it's going to be insane. That's also going to result in some kind of decreased usage of Pokemon like a Moongus, which otherwise are going to rely on those terrains to be able to put things to sleep. Tapu Koko's alleged terrain is going to kind of shut that down, is what I'm saying. So things like a Moongus might get shifted around, might not be as effective in a metagame that's dominated by Tapu Koko, which could also go for things like Max Brave Birds, Max Airstreams to boost its speed stat as well. So again, this thing is going to be a threat. It does, however, lose access to Hidden Power Ice, which was so important for it in the past, so it's going to have to try to figure out how it can utilize some different coverage moves to deal with things like Landorus Therian. But again, the whole metagame is going to get shaken up. I do expect Tapu Koko to be a premier threat as well. I think Lele is going to be a problem too. Like, we're just going to shout out all the Tapus. They're all so much better in this game, but I wanted to point out Tapu Koko specifically because I do feel like Rising Vultures is insanely powerful. Although Tapu Lele's expanding force is going to be nuts too, man. Like, I don't even know. We're just going to throw those together in one because they're both going to be dumb busted. Let's just be real. The last of the legendary type Pokemon that I'm going to shout out on this list is going to be Cortana. Cortana, known for its incredibly powerful attack stat and great speed stat, but really, really bad special defense, I think is going to be so good, especially with the addition of Grassy Glide. Being able to hit with that crazy attack stat, potentially give itself Beast Boost as a result of a priority type move, is just going to be so busted for the metagame. And again, it can boost its defense stat even further with max Steel Spikes rather. And again, much like Landorus, the removal of Hidden Power helps Cortana so much because it no longer has to worry about Hidden Fire. Now yes, Mystical Fire's distribution was a lot like wider spread for this game, but without Hidden Power Fire, Pokemon are no longer able to tech that. I think Cortana is going to be just a huge threat, especially when paired with Redirection, right? Like, you could have Redirection, Swords Dance, and then get Bulu in there, or get, you know, something like Rillaboom in there with Fake Out, and just start Grassy Gliding things, right? And Terrain Control is going to be so big. Something like Rillaboom is still going to be really strong in my opinion because of that. Having that Terrain Control, especially being slower than Lele, being slower than Coco, that's only going to benefit it. Good against Tapu Fini. I actually feel like Rillaboom might actually just be straight up busted in this game, and it's still busted, but I think it might even continue to be more busted. Cortana is going to be a problem. Do not sleep on that. Probably the best of the Ultra Beasts, I think, moving into the Crown Tundra DLC. Maybe Naganadel if it gets play, but who knows there. Stack Attack is another one, but I do think Cortana probably takes the cake on this one. Now, I said I was going to try not to talk about a ton of legendaries and Ultra Beasts in this video, and while I wish I could talk about the Articuno and the legendary birds and what those new Galarian forms are going to be, we simply just don't know. So for now, let's take a look at the next Pokemon, which is going to be Salamence. Salamence is a mon that I am incredibly excited about. Much like Dragonite and Landorus, going for those max airstreams to boost its speed, Salamence has two great abilities in Intimidate to lower the opponent's attack stat and Moxie to boost its own attack stat when it knocks something out. I think when you pair all those things together and then you factor in the fact that Salamence has an incredible attack stat, great speed stat, just great overall bulk in general, it is going to be another threat. Very similar to what Dragonite's doing, but instead of having the multi-scale to take a hit better, it's going to have the Moxie or the Intimidate to kind of help out the team, right? Or give itself its own boost. Like Max Airstream plus Moxie boosts are going to be nuts. Do not underestimate Salamence. It is going to be just a crazy plethora of Pokemon just airstreaming all over the place in the Crown Tundra metagame, dude. It is going to be wild. Big shout outs to Salamence. That thing is going to be a threat. And like I said, we're going to talk about some Pokemon that maybe you wouldn't expect, and I'm going to shout out Archaeops. Much like Regigigas, Archaeops is very much crippled by its very bad ability Defeatist. Defeatist makes it so after it gets to half HP, it loses a lot of its power. But I love the fact that paired with Galarian Weezing's neutralizing gas, you can actually negate that and do some serious things with Archaeops. A lot of people don't realize this thing has base 140 attack with an incredible stab combination in rock and flying, which is going to hit almost everything in the metagame super effectively, with the exception of steel types, which it does have ground and fire type moves for. Do not sleep on its incredible special attack stat as well, which is over base 100. It's got a great speed stat, and overall just a really, really offensive Pokemon. I could see Archaeops actually dealing some massive damage in the Crown Tundra, and do not be surprised if it ends up being a pretty legitimate threat. It does really need the pairing with Galarian Weezing, but the difference with Regigigas is Regigigas needs Galarian Weezing on the field at the same time. Archaeops can have Weezing switch in, activate, and then Archaeops gets rid of its Defeatist mid-turn and then deals massive damage. So some really cool things going on there. I look to see Archaeops do some serious damage. So there it is, guys. I covered 10 amazing Pokemon coming back in the Crown Tundra. And again, I tried my best to not just make this a Legendary or Ultra Beast list because we obviously know things like Groudon, Kyogre, those mons are going to just be insane in general. But I thought it'd be fun to kind of cover a few of the Pokemon that I'm excited about and some of the best threats that we're going to see here in the Crown Tundra metagame that are most certainly going to shake up VGC. Now, I'm admittedly not a big fan of a Legendary format, but I'm excited to see what happens for competitive Pokemon, singles, and VGC moving forward. It should be a lot of fun, and I'm curious what you guys are most excited to use in the Crown Tundra. Let me know in the comment section below, and if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button down below. Make sure you guys subscribed. Like I said, YouTube says that about 50% of you guys are actually not subscribed, so make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, and that's gonna be it for me, guys. My name is Dan. I also go by aDrive, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace. If you enjoyed this Crown Tundra video, you should check out this video right here where I break down my team for the Crown Tundra. Otherwise, this video right here, that's pretty awesome too. Have yourself an awesome day, guys.